with an ET of 7.77 and a speed of 198.22 from a standing start.
I was a nobody, and I just won a few races at Kissimmee, so I had won an expense-paid trip to the ATA World Series in Cordova. This guy from California was the world record holder, had never been outrun, and we beat him with a 9.96 10:05. And they were so upset, they made me run him again, and I beat him again. They couldn't believe it that this kid from the swamps had beat the champion, and I envisioned what the next car should be, and so I modified my car, which was Swampert 1, basically to the way it looks behind me, and it raised the record from the 160s right into the 170s. That was good because then the drag strips hired me, and I went all over the country in 1958 exhibition and setting records at everywhere I went. I went from nobody to the world champion with this car.
The history of the sport is important to preserve because eventually one day there might not be a sport of motorsports. So this is a place where it's important to make sure you have these cars, you preserve their story.
All these cars were taking up a lot of space. And then my wife and I went to England on a 2-week tour, and the British took us on all these car museums all over the countryside, and we thought, gosh, that's what we ought to do. We ought to have a drag race museum. So we came back home and built a museum in Seffner, Florida. And for 6 years it was there, and we didn't have any visitors. And so one day we decided it needed to be on the interstate. And so we started looking for property. We found this property here, and right off the bat, the attendance just went right through the roof.
With the museum being a 501c3 organization, a lot of these racers will donate their older cars to the museum to be put on display. And that's how we get most of our cars. People are like, we know they're going to be preserved, we know people are going to see them, and we don't have to worry about them. We have car shows here yearly. We have the Toys for Kids every December with the Twilight Cruisers. We allow them to come on the property, use the property. They are able to raise money and toys for the local kids here in Marion County for Christmas who would not have a Christmas.
The museum here has been in partnership with us for 22 years. This is our 22nd year because Don Garlits is so well known. We have a monthly car show, and what we do is we collect food for Interfaith at that monthly show, and then we have a yearly show here at Don Garlits. This is our 22nd annual yearly show, our Toys for Kids show. The neat thing about it is it's given back to the community. Graciously, Don Garlits has for over the years let us use his facility. And we've been able to come up with about $15,000 worth of toys a year and about $5,000 in cash for Interfaith.
The first weekend in November, we have our annual Mopar show, which we every year pick a charity. We try to alternate between local charity and national charity. This year's national charity is Tunnel to Towers. Last year it was Helping Hands. Since the Mopar show's been in existence for 35 years, we at least every year donate a minimum of $2,500 to a charity from the car show and that.
Don Garlits represents good or great tradition. Hard-working man. Started from the bottom, almost got killed on probably more than one occasion racing. I talked to him about coming to the Hilton Hotel. We were raising money for the ministry, and I said, we'd like to auction you off, Don. Part of the package was they would have a tour of this place, and they would get to go back into his workshop. And then we've had golf tournaments, and he's a sponsor of our golf tournaments, so he's been just a real famous person associated with our ministry.
Don was quite an innovator as a drag racer. He was the one that developed the rear engine drag racer. The guy's 90 years old and he's still running an electric dragster. And then what's important for a museum like this is history. Without history, you know, we're really nothing. And this is how we learn. This is one of the many cars here that have a story. Each one is an individual. These cars are part of history that will never come back now. This was my era. This was the era that I grew up in. This brings back all the memories.
The museum is open 7 days a week, 9 to 5. Admission for adults is $20, teenagers are $15, and children from 5 to 12 are $10. Any child under the age of 5 is free. We do offer discounts for 60 or older, military, first responder, and college students. That admission price is $15. we always accept volunteers. If somebody wants to come in and volunteer to help dust off cars or do something else, we'll gladly take them. We have a website, www.garlits.com.
We have a beautiful location. You could not find a better location. 250,000 cars pass here every 24 hours. There's a lot to see, and mostly it's word of mouth. We don't do a lot of advertising. The social media has helped us because we post things on social media and everybody looks at it. Like, we'll post a tour on there. I'm going to do a tour and it'll sell out in just a couple of days. I see a great future for it. We're always getting new stuff and changing the exhibits around. We just got 3 new cars yesterday, but we've got to find space for them. Our mission is to preserve the history of drag racing and the automobile, for that matter. We have a whole big building right next door that traces the automobile back to the 1800s, and we want to preserve the history of the automobile for future generations to enjoy.